Hey there, boot campers, it's Yosti here. I hope you guys are doing awesome. It is, of course, that time of the week, time for the Saturday boot camp. We've got a nice one for you today. Guys, we're gonna get into a mobility set in a sweet second. But guys, pretty much today is gonna be a little bit, I won't say focused around your training bag, but we will need just a single training bag for this session. So load it up with a bit of weight and get ready for the warm-up. To kick things off, we'll get into some hip circles. So place the hands on the hips, spread the legs out to a little wider than shoulder width, and from there we're going to circle the hips around, leaning into the front, drawing a nice big circle, working 5 one way before we move to the other side for 5. 5 and 5. Try to keep those legs as straight as you can as you push those hips right out and around. Once again, just working 5 reps. Once we finish our 5 and 5, rotation reaches come next. So basically throwing a big old high five out to the side, reaching out to the walls on the opposite sides of you, extending that shoulder out, working for a set of 10 total, 5 per side, before we move into some twists. So hands go right out and we try to push the hands away from each other, opposite twists. Twisting and turning that shoulder as far as you can go in opposite directions, all the while trying to push your hands away from each other at the same time. So a set of 10, 5 per side with our twists, and then from there we're gonna get some leg swings happening. So if you need to hold onto a wall or the back of a chair or something like that, that's cool, but we're gonna swing the legs forwards and backwards, working for a set of 10. If you can try to work on that balance a little bit, do so, but really try to keep that chest up as you go. 10 per side, of course. Trying to keep that balance. Whoa, this side's not so good. There we go. Good, so find that balance, keeping the body as still as you can as we cycle that leg forwards and backwards, 10 per side. From there, guys, we're gonna swing the leg right across the body. Once again, if you need to hold on to something, do. Otherwise, test the balance. Nice big swings, 10 one side before we flip it over to the other side for 10. Keeping your balance. If you're not holding, oh, nearly went over then. 10, nice big swings. 10, forwards, forwards, backwards, sideways, sideways. Next up, guys, we're gonna go some good old lunge twists. So with this one, we're basically stepping back. So let's step back with the left leg and we turn over the right leg. Right leg goes back, we turn over the left leg. So stepping back and we twist the opposite direction. Twist. Once again, left leg back, twist to the right. Right leg back, twist to the left. Basically interlocking the fingers and keeping those arms nice and level as we twist. We're going 5 per side, 10 total with our good old lunge twist before we move down to the ground. Setting up in the top of the push-up position. We're gonna step it through, bring the foot next to the hand, rocking back and change. Nice big step, lift the toes and try to straighten that leg at the front. Alternating our steps as we go. If you're to look on the side, of course we'd step through. Back leg wants to be nice and straight unless you really struggle, and then of course you can drop that knee to the ground. But ideally we want a nice straight back leg as we rock back. Alternating as we go, working for a set of 5 per side, 10 total. Then next up, guys, stay in that same high plank position, laying the leg over, chest stays up, we sink down onto that leg. Alternating, just a slight pause, working for 5 per side again, 10 total. Dropping those hips down and sinking in. Once we hit that last rep of our set of 10, we're just gonna take a seat on the ground, tuck the heels in, working some glute marches next. So palms up, feet wanna be basically about hip width for this one, and we drive the knee towards the chest and lift our hips at the same time. You'll notice that my foot is elevated, So my toes are off the ground and I'm pushing that heel in as I lift up nice and tall. This one we're working for a set of 20 reps, lifting up nice and high, working 10 per side, 20 total. So as we hit that last rep, let's roll the chest towards the hips, reach those hands towards the feet, and we're going to ab cycle it out, alternating the legs, keeping the upper back and shoulders up off the ground, working for a set of 10 per side, 20 total, reaching that foot out, pointing the toes, trying to reach forward to touch the feet, working those 20 reps. As soon as we hit that last rep, we're going to roll back onto the front again, moving into a nice deep squat. A little bit of a combo move here. I'll kind of turn to the side for this one. Basically what we're doing is we're placing the hands on the ground to lift. Then we sit, wedge the knees open, stand up tall, and walk it out as far as you can manage. So if you can, try to get right out into the fingertips. Otherwise, try to go out as far as you can hold. Once again, hands go on the floor, we lift. We wedge the knees open, stand up tall, then walk it out. How far can you go? As soon as you feel those hips start to drop, that's as far as you go. Then walking it back once again. Hands go on the floor, hips lift. Wedge the knees open. Then stand up nice and tall. And then try to go as far out as you can. Into the fingertips if you can. Then walk it back, keeping those hips steady as you go. With that little squat combo, of course, as we wedge the knees open, we want to push the elbows on the insides of the knees and you bring your hands together. Cool? So that is right after we've just done our hip lift. We wedge the knees open, then we stand up tall before we move down into our walkout. Cool? You'll do a set of 10 of those. Then last of all, to round out the set, we're going to drop a lunge with the left and drive that knee on the left up. So the left leg drops down to the ground and we spring up, driving that knee forwards at the top. We're working that one side. So basically that right leg is the one that's working. Working for a set of 10. Swap it over. Drop the knee, spring up tall. Ooh, I nearly lost my balance. There we go. Springing up nice and high. 10 per side before we get into our activation set. Coming up next, folks, is 3 exercises for 3 rounds. This is going to finish out our warm-up and get us really primed up for the first part of our main set. Now, guys, for this, we will need one of our bags. Don't be afraid to go a little bit lighter than normal, than, say, your squat bag or your deadlift bag if you've been doing your strength sessions during the week. So go a little bit lighter than what you normally would, because some of these exercises may be a little bit challenging. Of course, if you find them really challenging, then of course either find like a water bottle or a book, just a single item just to add a little bit of load, or just go no load with these particular exercises. Cool? Anyway, we're going to start things out. We did a lunge twist as part of our dynamic mobility. We're going to do or mimic the same movement basically with our bag next. So guys, lunge twist. Whenever we're lunging back, so let's say I'm lunging back with my left leg, I'm going to twist to the right. Cool? Vice versa, when I go or lunge back with my right leg, that's right leg back, I turn towards that left leg at the front, or I twist to my left. So when we add the bag to this exercise, we keep it on the chest. From there, I step back with my left, twist, basically taking that bag over the thigh. Cool? So stepping back with the right, I twist to my left. Cool? Stepping back with the left, twist to the right. So we're just alternating, reaching the bag across, keeping a 90-degree bend in the elbow, holding steady as we lunge, working for a set of 10, 5 per side. Second exercise, we're going to move down to the ground for some bag drags. We've done this one a few times. Just remember, we set up in that high plank position, and we want that bag on one side of the body. So in the high plank position, nice wide foot position. So we want to be, you know, wider than shoulder width ideally. If you want a bit more stability, just go that little bit wider. Now, if the bag is on my left, I'm reaching through with my right, I'm going to pull it across. Then the bag is now on my right, so I pull it through with my left. So I'm just alternating, holding steady through the hips, pulling that bag through and holding tight. If you find that a struggle, just work on the knees, but lock the hips out. Don't put a bend in the hips. Push the hips forward as we pull the bag through. Cool? Working for a set of 10, 5 per side. Then last of all, this one can be a little bit of a challenge. So once again, you can use your body weight or use a lighter object, but we're doing a press squat. Not a squat press, press squat. So the way this works is, going to be working into a nice deep squat, and at the same time I'm going to be pressing out with my bag or an object. Staying nice and upright as I work. I'm pushing straight out. So then when I incorporate the bag in, because I press out, I'm really going to have to fight to stay upright, and you're really going to feel that anterior core switch on. So nice and tall, pressing out, dropping back down again, or I should say dropping down and press, standing tall, dropping down, press, standing up nice and tall. Fight the pull of the bag, hold that breath as you squat. Nice and steady for a set of 10 reps. Cool? So just remember, the bag's really going to pull the body forwards if you're using your bag. So if you need to, you use that lighter weight. Cool? So once again, guys, 3 rounds. We're doing 10s of everything, working lunge twist, bag drag, lunge twist, that's 10 total, 5 per side, bag drag, 10 total, 5 per side, and of course 10 squat or press squats to finish it out. Cool, 3 rounds, and then we'll get into our main set. Next up is a little something I like to call strength for time, which just means we're going to be doing 5 rounds, and you're going to set a timer to see how long it takes you to do this particular set. So a little bit of friendly competition between our members just to see how long it takes us to do our 5 rounds of this particular set. Cool? 4 exercises is what we're doing. Basically a lateral lunge, moving into a plank combo, then a crossover lunge, and then finishing with a curl to press. Now we'll use one of our bags for this particular challenge, I guess, or you could call it a challenge. Our time set is probably a better way to put it. So using the bag, if you find any of the exercises a bit of a challenge, or if you're really struggling with it, of course, just go body weight, especially with those lunge variations, because they can be quite challenging. Anyway, guys, to kick things off, we're going to be doing a lateral lunge. When we work a lateral lunge, we're basically stepping out to the side. So everything is 10 in this set. So guys, what we're doing is we're stepping out to create a nice wide stance. Then from there we sink down, keeping that chest up. I then push myself back to that starting point, which is basically shoulder width stance, and then I step out to the other side. Stepping out, I keep this leg straight, I plant that foot, and I sink down. So if I want to slow this down, I step first, then I sink, I stand and push. To make it more fluid, I can sink down and through. If you find it a real challenge, just keep the legs wide and work a weight shift, working from side to side. But we basically want a nice deep lunge, as deep a lunge as you can manage. This is where we can bring that bag in. So placing the bag up on the chest. If you want that little bit of extra challenge, from there we keep the elbows up and then we step out, dropping down, step out to the other side. Nice and tall as we go, working for 5 per side, 10 total for that one. Next up, guys, give yourself a little bit of room so you can place the bag over on the side, and then we move down to the floor. A little bit of a, oh, my bag's falling apart. Moving into a plank combo. So setting up in the high plank position. I'll turn sideways on. Basically, we're going plank tap, knees to elbow, knees to elbow. That's 1 rep. Plank tap, knees to elbow, knees to elbow. Holding steady, working around our 4 points. Working that plank tap, knees to elbow, knees to elbow. Remember, that is 1 rep. We're doing 10 of those. Be mindful to lock out those hips so we're not twisting and turning, we're not creating A-frames, and we're not sinking in the hips. Nice straight line from head all the way down to the heels. Cool? Once again, set of 10 of that little combo. Next up is a crossover lunge. This crossover lunge basically works, I guess, kind of in the opposite direction of our lateral lunge. If I'm working my right leg, I step my left leg across. Then I sink down, trying to keep that right leg as vertical as I can. My goal is to touch the knee behind the heel on the other side, staying nice and tall. Then if I move to the other side, right leg kicks behind the left, I drop down, trying to keep that left leg as vertical as I can. So I don't want that leg laying over. I want to keep it up nice and tall. I sink across, drop the knee, drop the knee, drop the knee, drop the knee. Cool, working from side to side, stepping back and across. Of course, if I want to add that challenge of the bag, same thing as our lateral lunge. Nice tall body position, bag on the chest. I step across, keep that front shin as vertical as you can, working set of 10, 5 per side for our crossover lunge. Cool? Last one in the set is a simple curl to press. So basically holding onto our bag, we're going to curl the bag to the chest and then we're going to press out up the top. So incorporating the bag in, I start out just locking out the hips, getting as tall as I can. I curl it to my chest, then I press it out. Back down to the hips and press it out. If you look from the side, I lock my body tight, so then I'm not swinging the hips. If you find the hips are starting to swing, the bag's too heavy. So just lighten the load. Nice, strong, strict body position. Curl and then press above the head for a set of 10 total. So once again, guys, working those lateral lunges, 5 per side, 10 total, of course. Then our plank combo. Remember, plank taps, knees to elbow is 1. Plank tap, knees to elbow is 1. Do a set of 10 of those. Then, of course, it is a crossover lunge, 5 per side, 10 total, and our curl to press for a set of 10. We want 5 rounds, but remember, get that timer going and time how long it takes you to finish those 5 rounds. Last up, folks, is our little conditioning AMRAP. This is a bit of a play on the good old Cindy workout, what I like to call the Spartan Cindy. This one, I've done a little bit of a twisting and turning for this one. Normally we've got pull-ups in this particular set, but not a lot of us are actually going to have pull-ups at home, so I'm going to throw in a little bit of a supplemental exercise with our bag. So grab one of your bags and keep that handy because we will be doing some lunge rows as part of the set. Anyone that has access to a pull-up bar, awesome, utilize that. And of course, if you can do your pull-ups, brilliant. If you do struggle with your pull-ups and you've got a pull-up bar, we can kind of play with this one a little bit. Anyway, that's a little bit of a tangent. Guys, we've got 4 exercises that we're going to be running with, and you can choose beginner 12 minutes, intermediate 15 minutes, or advanced 20 minutes for this particular set. You want to, goal of this is to get as many rounds out as possible. Cool? So guys, our exercises, basically working 6, 9, 12, and 15 respectively for the 4 exercises. Those numbers will always stay the same. Guys, first up, why I like to call it the Spartan variation of the Cindy is we're throwing some good old burpees into the mix. Just remember, guys, when we're doing our burpees, chest must touch the ground. We leave the ground with a small jump, reaching full hip extension with those hands above the ears. So, of course, burpees wise, chest to the ground, we jump up, full hip extension. When I do my burpees, I like to keep my chin up. So I'm trying to spot something on the wall on the opposite side of the room. That way, it makes me lift my chin and keep my head up. If you start to look at the ground, you'll find your posture will start to hunch over. Cool? So we want a nice tall posture. We don't want to do our burpees where we're kind of doing these closed hips, chest forwards kind of versions. Cool? So just make sure when we're working burpees, chest to the ground, keep that chin up, looking up. If you do struggle with the burpees, kick it out, slow it down, use your knees, walk it back in, add that little jump at the top. Cool? You've got a set of 6 burpees. We'll always stay the same. Now, second part, this is where the pull-ups can come in. So if you do have access to a pull-up bar, here's one that I prepared earlier. Of course, we're working strict, so a nice straight body posture, chin above the bar at the top. Full extension. I don't want to see these little half pull-ups. Guys, if you do have access to the pull-up bar, do as many of 9 as you can, and then the remainder of the reps in a lunge row. For those that don't have the pull-up bar, or if you can't do your pull-ups, guys, grab your bag. We're leaning out. We're working 9 reps, holding onto the bag, pulling it into the hips. Remember, brace and hold. We've done plenty of these ones. Working for a set of 9. Before I move over to the other side, bag must touch the hip. Cool? Top of the thigh, the hip. You don't want to be pulling this way and you don't want to short shift it. I want the bag, touch the top of the hip, back to the floor. Top of the hip, touch the foot, top of the hip, touch the foot, top of the hip. 9 on one side, 9 on the other. Next up is 12 push-ups. So give yourself a little bit of room. Stretch out on the ground, nice tall body posture, straight elbows at the top. And from there, chest to ground, hips and legs should never touch the ground on our pull-up. Push-up, I should say, not pull-up. Elbows stay nice and close to the body. If you need to, drop the knees, chest to the ground. Remember, you're going to be doing 12 reps of your push-ups. Nice, strong, strict push-ups as you go. Last exercise, a good old bodyweight squat. Chest up, you can throw the hands however you have your hands. Hands behind the ears, cross them over, out in front. I like to throw them out in front. Working a little bit of anatomical breathing as I go. You've got 15 squats to do. When you do your squats, for regulation's sake, we want that hip parallel with the knee. What that means is, if I was to look side on, then my hip bone should be basically either parallel to the patella or the crease of the knee, or sitting just slightly below. Cool? So if you do struggle with your bodyweight squats, just go as deep as you can manage. But otherwise, nice and tall as we go. Stand up to full extension at the top. You got 15 squats to do. Cool? So once again, guys, we've got 6 burpees. We've got our 9 lunge rows per side, or 9 pull-ups. That's, of course, if you've got access to a pull-up bar. Maybe you've got one in the backyard or something like that. You've got your 12 push-ups and 15 bodyweight squats. If you want to add a little bit of load to those squats, by all means, use your bag, but at the end of the day, this is all about volume. It's all about getting as many rounds out as possible. Guys, beginner, once again, 12 minutes. You've got intermediate 15 minutes and advanced 20 minutes on the clock. Let us know how you go and how many rounds you guys crank out and what you decide to do. To round out the session, folks, we'll have a little stretch as a cool down. So find yourself a wall or somewhere, or a door frame or something like that. Basically, we're going to stretch out that shoulder and the lats. Basically, set yourself up facing the wall. You basically want to place a hand nice and high with a straight elbow. And then from there, we push the hips back, leaning in. Chest goes towards the wall and we keep the elbow straight as we go. So you should feel a nice stretch. You probably get a bit in the chest as well, maybe a little bit in the hamstrings. If you need to, just readjust that foot position. So the further back, you get a bit more stretch out of it and get just a bit more room. Cool, so just play with it to feel what works the best. Working for 30 seconds before we flip over to the other side. Starting out, you can place that hand. Then from there, you can kind of adjust those feet. And then just slide the hand down the wall, leaning into that stretch as you go. 30 seconds one side, 30 seconds the other, before we place our forearm on the upright, elbow level with the shoulder, and we lean in and turn away at the same time. Holding for 30 seconds. Basically try to keep that upper arm parallel with the floor. Leaning in, and changing to the other side. 30 seconds on the other side. Of course, use a timer to tell, for your 30 seconds. I'm just kind of running through the stretches fairly quickly. So remember, use a timer to gauge how long each stretch is. Leaning in. Then from there, guys, we're going to move down and stretch the calves out. So placing the foot on that wall, we're going to hinge in. This works best in a door frame because you can kind of hook your fingers into that door frame. Keep the heel on the floor, ball of the foot on the upright or the wall and leaning in. Nice straight leg. Regulating that breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth. 30 seconds on one side before we change it out. Trying to get that heel as close to the wall as possible. Keeping the heel on the ground. I hinge in, hold and breathe. Trying to relax as much as possible. As soon as we finish both sides, we're just going to pop down to the ground, kick those legs out nice and wide. We're going to lean into the front, dropping the elbows down, trying to get the chest down to the ground. Holding for 30 seconds. We're then going to lean out to the side, trying to get the chest down towards the knee. If you can grab the toes, whatever leg you're leaning across to, use the same side arm. So right leg, right hand, leaning in, holding for 30 seconds before we move over to the other side. Same thing, 30 seconds. I'm working on the left this time, so the left hand goes to the left foot. Leaning in, nice deep breathing. Then back into the center, dropping those elbows down to the floor as I lean into that stretch. Trying to get that chest a little bit lower this time. So regulate that breathing. 30-second hold. Then last of all, we're going to lie back. Just lying back, placing the foot on top of the thigh of the other leg, and then we're going to grab behind that leg. Lying back, we're going to pull the foot towards the chest. Relaxing into that stretch as much as possible. 30 seconds on the one side before we change it out to the other side. Hand behind the knee, drawing that foot towards the chest. Just making sure the shoulders and the head are on the ground. Once you finish the 30 seconds there, you can make your way up to your feet. Nice work again today, folks. Nice little Saturday session. Of course, let us know how you go with those particular exercises or those particular sets in our session today, both with our strength for time and our little conditioning, our little Spartan Cindy that we did at the end there. So let us know. Have yourselves a cracking day, and I'll see you again on Monday.